Yo, what's up? During your glorious battles, your soldiers are fighting and gaining lots of experience. The new Enlisted perk system gives you the ability to use this experience in order to teach your soldiers special abilities, increase the abilities, and eventually produce absolute super soldiers. Unfortunately though, the new perk system makes it also very hard, especially for new players, to crawl through the jungle of new rules when perking up your soldiers. But fortunately for you, I'm gonna show you my list of absolutely perfect and tested world-class builds, so you can just copy them or even modify if you want for yourself and have the strongest army possible in the game. Since there's a multitude of classes in the game, we're gonna walk through them consecutively and I'm gonna show you how to give them the best possible perks, how you can change them flexibly depending on your playstyle, and how to also quickly give them good equipment and how this synergizes with the perks, because some builds become absolutely insanely strong if you give them specific equipment. And we're going to start with the most important class in the game, the Engineer. For this first example, I'm also going to show you how perks work in general very quickly in a summary. Whenever you buy a new soldier, you're going to see this new soldier and he's going to come with 1 star. This means he's only got the lowest amount of perks, of perk points possible, because the more stars you have, the more perk points you're going to get. In order to level him up, you need to gain experience by fighting in the battle, but also you have to unlock the additional stars first, and you do this by going into the squad that belongs to the soldier class. Here it is Engineer, so this squad is going to give me the ability with the red progress system to unlock 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and so on star. If you want to unlock the Rifleman, you obviously go to the Rifleman squad and do the same thing here. This is the first thing to know, and then you just need to fight battles, get experience, and then click on the upgrades whenever you got enough experience, and then you can start assigning perk points to your soldiers by going to the perk menu, and here we have a perfectly perked Engineer. This first video addresses only max tier soldiers, meaning the highest tier of a soldier that's possible in the game, so Engineer 2s, Machine Gunner 3s, Rifleman 3s, Assaulters 4 and so on. The next video is gonna do the same thing for every low level soldier. Low level doesn't mean it's necessarily bad, it's just the first thing you get and what the majority of players is gonna have. The best tip I can already give you though, you don't really need to care about mid-level soldiers, because mid-level soldiers are usually just a waste of currency, since when you start the game, when you start leveling up your army, you're gonna obviously want to have very strong low-level soldiers, so it's worth it leveling them up. Also, it's quite cheap. But while you're progressing and grinding your nation and slowly unlocking the higher tiers of soldiers, it's not really worth it buying in between steps of soldiers, because you're gonna kick them out eventually for the max tier soldiers. Yeah, so the best important thing to know is just save your currency on the mid-level ones, just skip, and only use either low tier soldiers or max tier soldiers. So here's our Engineer 2. Now, how do you play an Engineer? Well, he's gonna be the leader of your squad, meaning he's gonna be most of the time the first soldier you use in order to quickly push somewhere, to build a structure, to build a rally point most of the time, or to build some defensive buildings. Even if you're attacking a point and you try to capture a point offensively, the best thing you can do is build a bunch of sandbags so you can't be shot, or build a bunch of barbed wires so the enemies can't get from behind into the point that they try to defend and you successfully attack. So what we want for engineers is to be mobile, to survive, because it's very important that an engineer survives. If you have a squad of 7 soldiers, it doesn't really matter much if the other 6 die, but if the engineer dies, you lose the ability to build a rally point. Every single soldier in the game can fight, but only the engineer can build rally points and other things. So engineers are the most important ones. We need them fast, and the most important speed is the building speed. So the first thing you want is, you want very high building speed, the maximum plus 50% building speed, and you want survivability. High survivability you get by getting vitality, which gives you plus 35% more life points. And you want to max the yellow point, down stay time before death, and greater chance to get downed. This basically means you have, instead of dying when you take lethal damage, you're just gonna get downed. So you guys basically get, instead of dying, you get a bunch of life points gifted by the game, and you just get downed and you can heal yourself. So these are the core points that you want, the core perks that you want. Now, in order to unlock the the high level perks, you need to spend 6 points in the first tier of perks. And this is for many classes the bottleneck, and this is also the balance mechanism the new perk point system invented, because contrary to the old perk system, you can have as many abilities as you want. Under the old enlisted system, you could only have 5 abilities that you unlock. Now I have 10. Well, 11. Yeah, so I've got 11 points. This is ridiculous. Well, I got 10 of myself and 1 from the game, the starter perk. So twice as many points twice as many abilities as you had before. This is absolutely insane. And yes, the balancing mechanism is that you have to spend 6 points in the beginning. But if you spend 6 points at the beginning, you're going to miss crucial points for the late stage, very expensive abilities. You see the problem? So the strategy becomes, where do you put in these early perk points? And here's the deal. This is the biggest lesson of the video. The best early level ability in the game is health regeneration. How does this work? Well, keep in mind, the abilities aren't explained well. In order to really understand how they work, you have to look into the codes to see how they're coded. Or you look at the video where I explain, I think it's called something Illicit Secrets, where I explain, among other things, how perks actually work and how secrets, mechanisms and so on work in the game. And yes, they're very hard to understand, so I'm going to explain them too for you. The health regeneration works the following way. If you have this perk, ignore what the text says, the actual ability is a bit different. If you have this perk, whenever your soldier isn't actively fighting, he's going to regenerate life points passively, like in a role-playing game. Like a paladin in a role-playing game, with a healing aura. And, depending on how many points you have here, he's gonna regenerate faster and more life overall. So this is really good. And this means if you, let's say you're running towards the objective or somewhere and your soldier, your engineer gets shot, but he survives. First of all, he has a much higher chance to survive due to the additional life points. Then, even if he gets downed, he has a much higher chance to not die, to just get downed. And once he healed himself and gets up again, he's going to heal to the full amount of lives, to the full amount of life points. So this triangle is an extreme synergistic combination of perks. And you want as much as possible here, because if it's too little, you literally just regenerate it so slowly, it doesn't matter, because squads don't survive that long in a game. So you want many points here. And also you don't really need the other perks because they're not that good. Basically no one uses aiming, it's not really that worth it. Also stamina regeneration speed, well, this is the second best threat perk, because stamina regeneration speed is even better than having more stamina, because it's much cheaper. And if you wait for a little bit, it has the same effect. So yeah, but you can just buy a flask and get the same thing too. Yeah, so I'd rather spend a little bit of silver for a flask and have 1 more point here for this. Alright, so you want to have this. So how do you allocate your first 6 points? You put in 4 here, so you still have 16 left for vitality, and then you put in the rest here. And here's the next synergistic part. You want you put them here, and then you unlock the fast building. For unlocking fast building, got cheaper by the way. It used to cost 40, now it only costs 12. 3 times 4. This means you still have 6 points left. Now how do you do it? Very simple. Since you don't want to have maximum jump heave, it's not really that much worth it, and these perks also aren't that good, you could argue for faster medpack usage speed, though here's a trick. Whenever you get downed, just switch to the next soldier. It's literally not worth your time to heal the soldier yourself, just switch to the next bot that you have in the squad and play with him. And in the meantime, the soldiers are going to heal. And then you don't need this fast healing perk. Also, it's quite expensive. If you want to spend, whenever I wanted to put points into this, I just thought, well, why not just have more walking speed? Running, by the way, means walking in the game. Yeah, so the sprint is running and run is walking. So this is not worth it. These also aren't really worth it. This is the only one worth it, but if you start putting perks into this, you're missing out on some really synergistic perks, because this perk group, and don't worry, the next soldier classes will be much faster and easier to explain, because most of them have the same perk combinations and synergies. This is a synergy that comes up very often, by the way, and this dual trick also comes up very often. So yeah, the next ones will be very easy and fast. Now, why is the synergy here? Very simple. First of all, changing pose. If you're an engineer, it quite often you want to go down to the ground to build something and not get shot. Or in general, during fightings, you want to jump or fall down quickly to the ground and then mount your weapon on the street, which works reliably. There are other surfaces on the game where mounting doesn't work properly, but here mounting works very nicely whenever you're on the ground, be it in the forest or in the city. So being 50% faster means, well, it can mean the difference between being shot or not. Also, it makes your movements more fluid and just makes the game more fun since you have to wait less time and the game becomes less clunky. Now, when you're already on the ground, what's the best thing you can do? Well, you can crawl. Problem is, crawling is very slow. But if you have plus 16% crawling speed, you become literally faster than normal walking. So here's the trick. When you start your game and you whip out your engineer, or whenever you whip out a new squad, you take your engineer and you instantly start running or charging, preferably, towards the target. Once you run out of stamina, just quickly go to the ground with the pose changing perk, and then start crawling. While you're crawling, you're going to regenerate stamina. But while you regenerate stamina, you're still moving faster than normal walking speed due to this combo. You see the great strength of this build? So this is very strong. Keep in mind, this isn't really worth it unless you put in all 3 upgrades in it. Otherwise, it's not really that good. Well, if there's nothing else to do, yeah, of course, you can put in 1 randomly. But I would avoid this totally unless I have 3 of them. And then, since we have 1 more, I put in this here. Plus 100% fire extinguishing speed. This perk also used to be very expensive before the merge. And now it became very cheap, which is good because you're not burning that often that you actually want to spend more than 1 green for that. But you're still burning often enough that just spending 1 green is really, really effective. And especially if you're playing on low battle rating, people really seem to like their Molotovs and their flame tanks. Well, especially if you play on higher than low battle rating, if you play mid and high battle rating, people absolutely spam flamethrowers. So on low battle rating, this perk is very, very useful, but not necessary. On high battle rating, this perk almost becomes absolutely necessary because you're constantly going to burn by enemy flamethrowers. So yeah, this is a very perfect and nice synergistic combination. And then red perks we already explained. And the yellow perks, very simple. You want this. Since we are playing, by the way, this is a low battle rating. This is a low battle rating build. Since, well, we're using only bolt actions, so low battle rating. You want, since after this, you spend 10 yellow and you still have 6 yellow left. Well, how do you distribute these 6? You absolutely want 1 in this in fast weapon changing, because fast weapon changing switches literally through everything that your hand can hold. Be it a weapon, be it a pistol, be it a hammer for engineer building, or a mine, or a sword, or an axe, or anything. This works for every item. So this is universally applicable since you're an engineer who constantly switches between weapons and hammers, yeah, and axes for charging. This is going to be extremely useful. Extremely useful, and the best thing is if you're during a fight, you can quickly set up a sandbag. Well, this is the best combination of all, by the way. Let's say you're on the objective or somewhere and enemies shoot at you. Let's see, can we just quickly build a sandbag in front of us to not get shot? Well, we can, because we just drop on the ground quickly with changing pose. Then we whip out our hammer with fast weapon change speed, and then we quickly build a sandbag. And this makes the engineer class the strongest, also the strongest fighting class in the game, because no other class can whip out combos like this, survive, and then while you're hiding behind your sandbag, start tossing grenades at the enemies. And then, since you have a bunch of perks left, the perk that, well, to fill out the points, if you're not playing bolt actions, you could have vertical recoil reduction. that becomes quite useful. But if you're playing bolt actions, give yourself faster firing rate of bolt actions. And then for the last perk, put it somewhere. I recommend this perk. You don't even need to read it, because what it actually does is your bots are gonna be much more precise during fights. This is what it does. It makes your bots more precise at shooting by decreasing their dispersion. Also, whenever you turn around during a fight, let's say you're looking forward, but then you get shot from the left, while you turn to the left, you're gonna get quite a high penalty of precision, and this reduces this penalty, so your shots are gonna be landing much better. Regarding synergy between perks and equipment, we already addressed most of the things like fast weapon changing speed and so on, or charging speed and stamina and so on. The only thing missing yet is that you want to give them absolutely grenade pouches, because there's no reason at all to give them backpacks, except for if you play in a group. You can give them backpacks and then give the soldiers either multiple medkits so they can heal multiple times, either yourself or other soldiers, which is a very good way to grind, because healing a downed soldier gives you 75 experience, which is extremely much experience. So if you're low level, just give him a backpack and yeah, put in as many medkits as you can. This is really good. You can also put in one tool kit and then start repairing friendly tanks, which also is going to give you lots of experience. And if you're playing in a stack, this leads to some very nice synergistic gameplay. But yeah, besides that, you just want to give them lots of grenades, quite effective, possibly mines. Flask also very much welcome. And binoculars, because if it's an engineer and he can build stuff like machine guns, or yeah, mostly machine guns, you can actually look through the binoculars while using the machine gun, giving you basically a sniping machine gun. Next we have the most basic class in Enlisted, the Rifleman. Basic doesn't mean that they don't have any equipments though, because they have two special abilities. First, you can put them into any class, as many as you want, as you can see here. You can put just as many riflemen as you want in every single squad. Also, they are the only class who can use grenade launchers, except for anti-tank gunners, who can also equip anti-tank grenade launchers, but only on higher battle tiers. On low battle tier, the only thing they can do is grenade launching, if you want to use their best ability. And whenever you build riflemen, you want to literally maximize this skill, because that's the only reason to use riflemen at all. Because if you want to use any other weapon, you can literally use any other class. So yeah, what we want to do is we want to have a soldier that is very fast with his grenade launchers, because grenade launching usually takes time because you have to reload constantly. So we want to minimize the time it takes us to reload, and we also want the soldiers to be as tanky as possible. So we have, especially if you have a normal rifleman squad, where you preferably have around 6 to 7 to 8 riflemen. We want these dudes to survive as many enemy explosions as possible, since a giant squad is gonna pull all of the attention. And yes, this is how we're gonna do it. We are gonna first... Yes, this is the first problem that you may see. They are one of the few classes who don't get any penalties regarding points. They only get upsides, they only get boni. And there's still a problem though. We want to have them as tanky as possible with as much vitality as possible. And we want them to give the fast fire reload. And we also, so they can reload their grenade launchers, because this perk affects every single weapon in the game that your soldiers can hold. And we also want to make sure that they survive. And we also want them to have the ability to be very fast, because if you want to use grenade launchers effectively, you need to be very quick regarding how you maneuver through the battlefield. You want to run from obstacle to obstacle while reloading your grenades, so you don't get shot back. And you also want to find groups of enemies, or you also possibly want to avoid a single enemy in front of you and instead find the rest of the squad. So being fast is absolutely crucial. Demanding all of these high perks from your soldier leaves you with, well, very few perks you actually want to have in the low levels. Actually not that many. So the biggest problem with this class is, how do you fill up the 6 required perk points in the beginning? Well, you obviously want fast weapon change, so you can switch between the two rifles, because how you play it is you equip the first rifle with a grenade and you equip the second one with nothing. You just let it be a normal bolt action. And then whenever you see a group of enemies, you just shoot a grenade, and whenever you see one enemy, you just shoot him with your bullet. But you want to be very fast when switching between these two weapons. Normal weapon change speed is quite slow, but if you have this perk, it literally becomes extremely fast. Also keep in mind, when you just see an enemy tank, randomly shoot it with your weapon. So whenever someone blows it up, you get the assist points. So even one bolt action hit is going to land you the assist bonus. So yeah, we want this, and you want obviously this, but we can only have 3 times health regeneration because we need 16 for vitality. This gives us 3 plus 1. So how do we allocate the remaining 2 points in the low levels? Well, we don't want to spend any green because we want 16 for fast running and then 3 more for faster walking. Keep in mind they affect each other. This makes the faster walking also a little bit faster, and this makes the faster running also a little bit faster. So here you have it. We can only actually spend the yellow here, and the only perks really good are this perk that makes your bot basically more precise while aiming. This is quite useful because, once again, if you play Rifleman, most of them you will be having in your Rifleman squad, and whenever you're using some of the first soldiers, the others are going to be bots. Having every single of your bots in your squad have this one perk means your bots, while you're running around, are going to be very precisely killing everything you see around you, especially if you mark it. Yeah, so make sure you mark. I put it in one of my videos, just put marking on the same button as shooting, and then you're going to have auto marking all of the time. And for those who think, oh, doesn't it have disadvantages? The advantages are much better than the disadvantages, so it's absolutely worth it. Alright, this is how you build your Rifleman. It's a little bit tricky finding the right balance for the 6 first points, but after that it becomes straightforward, and you're going to have some absolutely dangerous super soldiers. Next we have a beginner's favorite, the sniper class. Now this class is very fragile because they can't get over 14 red, so they can't get vitality because it costs 16. And this isn't much of a problem though, because since you're usually shooting from quite far away, the bullets you're gonna receive in return are gonna come with low damage. So the distance is basically your additional life points, because all the damage you're gonna get is gonna be quite limited. This is the first thing we want to know. And second thing you want to know is that when you use snipers, basically always use 2 weapons. There's no reason to give them backpacks, since backpacks would be best for grenades. But if you're sniping, you can't throw your grenades at enemies because you're too far away. And instead of reloading bullets slowly, it's much better to switch from one weapon to the other during a fight when you're out of bullets than to reload. Yeah, so especially on low battle ratings with bolt actions. So this is the basic build you want to have of a sniper. Always 2 weapons. If you absolutely want to play, if you're on high battle rating by the way, you can have 1 bolt action sniper for very far away targets, and 1 semi or full auto sniper rifle for close and mid-range targets. So you always have the perfect weapon on all distances. The perks for snipers, when built right, give you some lightning fast bolt action soldier, because bolt actions may have some of the highest damage output in the game, only comparable to tanks and stuff like that, but they're also very slow. Though, if you give them the proper perks, they become ridiculously fast anyway. So here's how you do it. The easiest part about sniper perks is that since we can't get the vitality perk, because we only have 14, we can just put in as much as we want in other perks. So we want 5 in regeneration, because, well, if your soldier is far away in the background and doesn't fight, he's gonna regenerate life slowly, and very likely he's not gonna die anyway, because he won't take too much damage when he gets shot back. So this is really good. Additional stamina is also good, because when you are running around or when you are traversing from one position to the other, since a good sniper changes his position constantly, because eventually you're going to be found out and spotted, and the worst thing that can happen to you is if a tank just starts high explosive shelling you. So change your position, as snipers in real life also do, and you're going to be a very successful sniper. So here we have our first 6. Then you can use your points anywhere you want, and we absolutely want the fastest bolt action fire rate, so plus 12, and we want additional chance to get downed. And this gives us exactly 22 yellow spent. I would gladly take this perk too, but you literally can't. You can't afford it, sadly. If you're playing high tier, high battle rating with full auto weapons, well, then instead of the bolt action stuff, give yourself just recoil reduction, and if necessary, spend less here and more here. You don't need the 5 here. It's not that important, but you want maximum vertical recoil reduction if important. So yeah, it's not hard to change for you then. Then for the remaining vitality points after spending the first 6, you want to get additional health restored by your med pack. Very simple. You're gonna get damaged eventually, and enemies are gonna start shooting back, but you're gonna survive most of the time. And if you heal yourself, you want to gain as much life back as possible, especially once you start pushing forward or even get closer to enemies. Once you get actually injured heavily, this can actually be very, very beneficial. So yeah, also the other perks aren't really that much worth it. More stamina isn't worth it, and aim stability while receiving damage is also not worth it. It's not really worth it. So yeah, this isn't the best perk, but it's also better than the other perks. And for the green perks, weapon speed usually is not a good perk because it's just extremely overpriced. It's 5 for 10% more weapon speed is extremely overpriced, but since we want to have an extremely fast sniper, this is the best thing you can do. Higher fire rate of bolt actions and faster aim rate, yes. This turns your bolt actions basically in semi-auto rifles. Yes, this is literally what happens when you give your bolt action snipers these perks. They're gonna be as fast as semi-autos, but every single shot is gonna land and every single shot is gonna kill. So yeah, this is amazing. And for the remaining perks, you want to make them faster and give them post change, because you oftentimes are gonna jump up and down. And for the last one, the fire extinguishing. Next we have Assaulter 4, and Assaulter 4 is the highest tier of soldiers you can get in the game currently. And they are absolutely worth it because the amount of perk points they have is simply humongous. Now, this not only gives you the additional passive abilities. Passive ability means the more green points you have, the faster your soldier moves. The more red points you have, the more stamina he has. And the more yellow points he has, the less recoil he gets. So the effects are quite small, but still, having such high numbers affects your soldier already immensely. But you can also give them some ridiculous perk combinations that not even Assaulter 3 can get. So here's how you do it. First of all, you want to let him dual wield. Very simple. If you're low battle rating, just give him 2 machine guns. Give him 2 SMGs. Because why reload when you can just switch from one weapon to the other? This is literally the reason. Many people don't get it. Many people automatically assume, yeah, ammo pouch is the way to go. Well, no, 2 weapons is the way to go. Also, if you absolutely want, you can give him a shotgun or a normal rifle. So you have a weapon for long range and a weapon for short range. If you're on high battle rating, you can just give him, let's say, STG and Stalingrad PPSH. And then you have a weapon for mid-range and a weapon for short range. If you're playing Soviets, you can go completely insane by giving the first soldier an AS and the next soldier further off. I'm gonna put out a short video in the next weeks where I explain why this is the strongest combo of weapons in the whole game. But yeah, you can just create ridiculous combinations of weapons. But even on the most simple build, you just give him 2 weapons. So we want 2 weapons, we want fast weapon speed change, and we want our soldiers, since it's a full auto weapon, to have vertical recoil reduction. Though, look at your weapon. If you have a weapon that has very high horizontal recoil, high means around the same number as vertical, you want to prefer the horizontal recoil reduction, because you can't control by moving left and right, but you can easily control vertical recoil while just moving down, while aiming. So yeah, this is what you want to look out for. Almost all the weapons in the game, vertical recoil is obviously the preferable one. Okay, so this is the build, and the perks are quite simple when it comes to filling out the first 6. You put in 3 into red, leaving you 16 for that. And then you put in 1 for weapon change. one for quick shot, one for extinguishing fire, and one for post change. And then you got your 6. After that, you take your vitality, you take your fast running and fast walking, and then you have a basically the general optimal build: vitality for surviving lots of bullets, being very fast. Since you're an assaulter, you need to be able to storm objectives quickly, not only getting quickly close to the objective, but also running through the objective quickly, because if it's an objective with lots of rooms and doors, being able to run quickly and not get shot by some dudes who are hiding a trap is very beneficial. Also, if you're fast enough, you can actually outrun anti-personnel mines. So having an X with your to charge and having the fast running gives you the ability to just run over mines without dying, if you have vitality. So yeah, this is also another beneficial effect of that. And then the core piece, the vertical recoil reduction. And for the remaining points, you just give yourself additional down chance so your soldiers become even more tanky. Next we have good old anti-tank gunner. Now anti-tank gunners became extremely important after the merge, because on low battle ratings tanks are very strong and you absolutely want to have something against them. On mid battle ratings tank gets even better and your anti-tank weapons become very good. So mid tier is the tier where anti-tank gunners completely shine, especially since you can equip them with an anti-tank grenade launcher as the first weapon. And on max tier, tanks are so ridiculously overpowered and oppressive that you absolutely need anti-tank gunners, and you also get the best anti-tank weapons, so they still are very viable and also very much required. So yes, you absolutely want anti-tank gunners, and there's not much choice in terms of how you build them, because they automatically come with 2 weapons. So you automatically can only unlock the backpack, and you want to give them grenade pouch because they usually lack in firepower, but giving them lots of grenades means you can actually, you can actually destroy not only enemy tanks but also groups of infantry. And you want to give them obviously an X so they can charge quickly, which becomes very important when you're fighting against enemy tanks, because tanks love to drive away from you, or if you want to outflank an enemy tank so he can't see you, because many tanks are very tunnel sighted. When it comes to perks, it's quite straightforward. You get a -2 mobility penalty, so you can't get fast running, so you need to pick any other perks. But you can get vitality, so you still have 4 red left for fast healing, alright? You put in 2 here, then 1 for extinguishing fire, 1 for changing pose, because this is very important since sometimes you want to crawl around to escape the machine gun of an enemy tank. Some tanks can't properly shoot really good on the ground, and also some tanks won't even see you if they're gray zone camping on an elevated position, you're crawling under them or next to them. So yeah, this is quite useful, and you're gonna have with this build 1 point left, and you just put it randomly into faster crouching. It's not that much worth it, though it's the only thing you can spend it in, because this costs 2 and not 1, so yeah. Then you put in 2 points into fast running, absolutely necessary, and fast walking, because very often you will have to hunt tanks, and since tanks are already faster than you, you don't want to be too slow. And then additional aiming speed, because you want to be able to aim your anti-tank rifles or your Panzerfaust and similar things as fast as possible. 2 would be preferable, but you literally don't get it. If you already spent 2 points here, you cannot possibly get enough points for this. And for the yellow points, you want to have weapon change speed, since you're constantly changing between your normal weapon and your anti-tank weapon. And then you want to have faster reload, because this is very crucial, because reloading the anti-tank weapons usually is extremely slow. And this makes it much, much better. And then you want to get your additional survivability, because the recoil speeds are completely not worth it. Also, bolt action speed isn't worth it, because you rather survive damage than shoot a little bit faster with the weapon you won't use too often. And for the remaining perks, you just give your soldier more precision while being a bot. And the starting perk is already grenade throwing. For those wondering why don't we combo the additional 18% with just having this here, well, very simple. It's extremely extremely confusing if you have some soldiers with this perk and others not. Now, even if you have an indicator in the game, which exists but can be problematic after the merge with the optics and bugs and so on, even if you get an indicator in the game that you have the perk, still, if you get used from 90%, 95% of all your soldiers to not have the perk, you will miss your shots. Very simple. You will miss your throws of the grenades. So just either, this is a perk that you either have on all of your soldiers or on neither. And yes, guess what? You can't put it on everyone. It would be a complete waste. And yeah, so this perk is actually quite a waste. Well, if you want to spend lots of time in the game learning special skills and so on, yes. Learning this perk or mastering this perk, learning grenade throws can be worth it. But I've yet to see a soldier who's actually good with it and who has like 50 hours in his life to do that. Also, if you find me the soldier, guess what? I can just outplay him with any grenade launcher. And you only need 5 minutes to learn aiming with grenade launchers, where you need 50 hours to learn aiming with this. So yeah, this is simply not worth it. Next we have one of the most ironic classes in the game, the Radio Man. Now the Radio Man is one of the most necessary but also quantitatively least popular classes. Reason for that is, you always want one to call an artillery strike when you can, but since you have to wait 4 minutes after every artillery strike, you don't want to have them in every squad. Especially since most squads die after 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. So here's the deal. The general rule is have for every second squad a radio man, and that's it. So this means you will only have very few radio men, but these radio men are nevertheless very important because they can get some really good perk distributions, and they're also quite capable fighters. Now, the first thing is, always put your radio man as the last soldier in your squad, because you never want to fight with him. He always has to survive and stay out of line. Stay out of line of sight of the enemies. Because he's literally about staying alive. As the Bee Gees already knew in the 70s. And just being able to call an artillery strike. That's all radio men do. Though, since they come with a radio on their back, they can't get backpacks. But this automatically gives them the ability to have a second weapon. So what you want is give them one weapon, like a normal rifle, and then just give them any secondary rifle. For example, on high battle rating, you can mix select rifle with bolt. Most of the time, you're just gonna mix bolt action with semi-auto or bolt action with another bolt action, depending on what. What I did is I gave them my favorite weapon in the game, the Kar98K that I'm using myself. But if I'm not playing them, the bots is gonna use the better weapon, the Wartime Mod Gewehr, which is the strongest bolt action in the game. But I don't like using it because I don't like the sight. So yeah, I just gave them these two weapons. And yeah, there's not much else you can do with them. We want to maximize the ability of him to survive. And that's it. So here are the perks for him. First of all, we want 16 vitality. This leaves us with 2 red. He starts with a very strong perk, plus 70 health restored. This means he's almost getting twice as much health from using medpacks as normal soldiers. Completely for free. Yeah, this is really, really good. Usually you pay a lot for this perk, yeah? So this is good. And regarding the others, we want, in order to fill out 6, we have 2, plus 1, plus 1, plus 2. And this is how we get 6. From these perks, we actually only want this perk really much, and this, because since you're basically never gonna play the radio man yourself, since he's going to be a bot 99% of the time, he really profits from this perk. Yeah, so this is actually the class where this perk is worth the most. And then we just give him this perk because we can't, there's nothing else to do actually. Alright, so this is how we get to our 6. Then we give him our vitality. Then we give him fast running and fast walking. And congratulations, now you have the fastest class in the game. They have the highest amount of green for a passive walking speed bonus. And they get the maximum amount of speed buffs. Once you give the soldier also something to charge with, he's going to be ridiculously fast. And this is also one of the reasons why he's so tanky. He can literally outrun most weapons in the game. Most people will never hit him with a bolt action, not even with a semi-auto. And he can even outrun mines, because he's that fast. Yeah, like this is ridiculous. together with vitality and additional down chance. Yeah, this is one of the tankiest classes in the game. Exactly what you want him to survive. And for the end we have Machine Gunner 3. Now this is one of the offensively strongest classes in the game on any battle rating. And since they're level 3 or tier 3, they get an insane amount of points. And this is how you want to spend them. First of all, machine guns have quite long reload times. Now even if they have a fast reload time, since they have also usually very high cadence, so fire rate, you want to be able to just spray your bullets into your enemies. You want as little recoil as possible, so you actually land your bullets. And then you want to quickly switch from one weapon to the other. So during a fight, you don't have to reload, you can just keep on spraying bullets. This is how you want to play them. And you want them to be quite fast because they're carrying literally more than enough stuff to get all the back pain. So you want to make them a little bit faster if possible. And that's it. Basically, very fast, very precise, and very tanky if possible. This sounds like a lot of requirements, but you can actually make it happen. So here's how you do it. First of all, you need to fill out your 6 as usual. This is actually hard because you want many high tier points. And so we fill in 1 for post change because machine gunners profit the most from mounting your weapons on the ground while crouching. So additional post changing speed is very much welcome. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here's how you do it. Here's how you get to your points. We can only afford 2 in regeneration because we only have 18, leaving us with 16 for vitality. And we want to have fast weapon change, obviously. And this is just the last point we can spend and put in somewhere. And quick the bot precision perk, as you can call it. Since your machine gunners, especially in the machine gun squad, will be 3 of them. You have 3 of them, and 2 of them, even if you use 1 machine gunner, will be bots. They are gonna profit immensely from this perk. But this is only half of the truth. What you actually need to know is that machine gunners are the class that are the strongest when the game controls them as bots. Because the AI is extremely good with machine guns. Because the AI always sprays 3 bullets. The AI always does 3 bullet bursts, if it can. And, well, guess what? The AI is quite precise, yeah? But in order to make the AI balanced, they get some penalties. But if you give them this perk, the penalties are quite reduced. So machine gunner bots, possibly the deadliest bots in the whole game. Yeah, so you absolutely want these machine gunners to be as good as bots as possible, and this is exactly what you need for that purpose. So we get all of these fine-tunings, then we get recoil reduction. Some weapons, it obviously depends on the weapon. The last American machine gun profits more from horizontal recoil reduction, but most machine guns profit more from vertical recoil reduction. This leaves us with 6 yellow points that you can put in here since you don't really need the others. You don't need faster reload because you really want to get additional survivability. And since you already have on low battle rating quite enough bullets in your machine guns and you're dual wielding, you don't need the reload speed. So yeah, this is really good. Of course, vitality, and then we get faster running because yes, they're very slow. Keep in mind, the more weight a soldier has, the slower he's going to be. So you want to give him a little bit more of speed. And then we have 1 random perk, and this is of course the change speed. Alright, that's it. The next video is gonna explain the remaining classes, especially vehicle classes. And we're also gonna dive into the entry level soldiers, so Engineer 1, Rifleman 1, Assaulter 1, and so on. So every new player can also get perfect armies. I started with these squads because I already had them completed. And keep in mind, if you're an old player, you may get some conversion artifacts because some funny things happens. If you noticed, my German army is the only one I actually perked up perfectly. The others I don't really care about right now. It takes forever, literally. And nothing's blinking except for the engineers because you literally cannot spend the last perk. I could take away 1 here, put it here, but then this becomes useless, as I already explained with the engineers. So yeah, this is going to be blinking forever until there's going to be something that removes the blinking. Also, sometimes something funny happens because for some classes you get the situation where you get -1 points, because some of these perks were less or more expensive before the merge. And here, these perks were more expensive before the merge, and here you see I have -1. So if you have stuff like that, don't change the perks, because otherwise you will never be able to get this combination again. As you can see, I don't value this combination that much, but since I got it for free, kind of, yeah, I'd rather have this now, because you will never be able to get it back. Alright, that's all you to know for now. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and like and share with your playing friends, so all of us gonna get some really nice, cool, strong soldiers. And until next time, goodbye.